How do you feel about the way you look? And how do you feel about whether you should do something to change it? Phew. What a question. For the last several months, we have been asking you, our listeners, to tell us stories about your beauty interventions, what you've decided to invest time and money in, like plastic surgery, elaborate skincare routines, fillers, Botox, things to look younger or hotter or quote-unquote healthier. Or maybe you're one of those listeners who is clear that big interventions are a bridge too far for you. Plastic surgery, no. And also you've decided taking GLP-1s or using hair dye means participating in cultural ideals that you would rather reject. But what do you feel about teeth straightening or even that nice thick face cream at the drugstore? When you're deciding to make an investment for your looks, which part is for you and which part is trying to control how the rest of us treat you? Conventionally attractive people make more money and are treated better by teachers and law enforcement. And we live in a time where social media's broad reach is narrowing what we consider beautiful. In our Slate Plus episode this week, we get into social media even more. I talked to a researcher who's a dermatologist and a medical anthropologist who is studying the proliferation of skincare routine videos on TikTok made by and for kids, some as young as 7 years old. Let's start with your stories about your appearance and how some of you pay to manipulate it. We heard from a lot of you about a push and pull of feeling like improving your looks was a frivolous pursuit, and also that looking a certain way felt core to some of the most important things in your life, your romantic relationships, your work, and feeling desired and worthy.
I'd like to think of myself as a person with depth, a person who values intelligence and kindness, and doing the right thing. And yet sometimes I worry that my appearance and the doors that my appearance have opened, those are going to close if I don't continue to look this particular way.
This is Death, Sex, and Money, the show from Slate about the things we think about a lot and need to talk about more. I'm Anna Sale. Are you looking for a natural way to relieve aches and discomfort? I'm going to try Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies. Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies are made to help you feel better, whether with stress, discomfort, or just needing a little relaxation. They only use the best part of the hemp plant, the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD, and they're formulated to help relieve discomfort, stress, and sleeplessness. All products are third-party lab-tested and USDA organic to ensure safety and purity. And right now, Death, Sex, and Money listeners can save 30% on your first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/DSM and use code DSM at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/DSM and use code DSM.
When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
Over the last several months, we've been asking you to tell us stories about how you think about looking good.
It all started with a glycolic peel and went downhill from there.
Some of you told us you had a hunch that being more attractive would make your life better.
I can't help but feel that if everything were exactly the same, but I had a lot of either self-confidence about the way I currently look or if I just looked better, that, maybe things would be even better in my life and career.
If I'm being very honest with you, I'm worried that I'm ugly again. That sounds so superficial, but I'm worried that I'm society's standards of ugly. Because I know what it's like when I just do a little bit more, and the looks and the notices and the treatment that I get.
Some of you said you were actively leaning away from your outward appearance.
I'm never going to fit society's ideals, so why try? I'm not a young, thin, white woman. I never will be that. So trying to fit in anybody's box it feels futile to me. I've been walking around with ridiculous looking eyebrows for a few weeks now just because I've been too lazy. And I think there is a freedom in that.
And many of you feel caught in the middle, wondering about whether to intervene to improve your appearance and what that would say about you and your values.
As somebody who's also part of a DIY punk scene, I feel like somebody who's very anti these mainstream demands of people as they age. So I have this kind of dialogue going on in my head of how to approach aging moving forward, whether I maybe give in a little bit to some of this external pressure or just augment myself in ways that feel comfortable versus just shirking it all off and aging naturally.
So I typically go to the gym 3 to 5 days a week, but it's getting harder to just maintain those levels of strength and, my body and tonus and things like that. And one of the things I'm contemplating is going on TRT or testosterone replacement therapy. And essentially, it's weighing out the consequences of potentially impacting my ability to have children. It's been something of weighing out, do I want to potentially risk that, long-term desire of being a father and having a family versus, the vanity and looks?
The idea of getting fillers feels like kind of crossing a bridge. I would be embarrassed to tell somebody that I had fillers. It feels very vain. But also I'm curious about how it would impact my appearance. So we'll see. I am very in the moment of deciding that right now.
Well, let me put this a little closer. Is the audio better now?
This is great. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm so happy to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to talk to you. Okay, so we are recording, but before we kind of launch in, I just want to talk about a few things about how we're making this episode. How do you want us to identify you? Do you want us to use
Asher?
Asher?
Yeah.
So ASHER.
Yes.
And can we say where you live?
Yeah.
New York City?
Yes.
And can we say what age you are?
Yes.
Okay.
You can also say that I'm beautiful, which is the truth.
You are?
I'm kidding.
Asher lives in Manhattan with 2 roommates. He works as a data scientist at a consulting firm, and it's a job that pays pretty well. And he can work remotely, which has been important when healing from plastic surgery. When Asher reached out to us, he was 3 months out from getting work done on his face, liposuction on his cheeks, and a chin implant.
I'm 35 now. Last couple of years, it was kind of looking like puffier and puffier. And with the implant, it gives a more angular version of your face. Mm-hmm. It looks a bit more masculine.
Which of those 2 would you say was the more predominant thing? I don't want to look... I want to look more masculine, and I want to look young.
I wouldn't use the word young.
Okay.
Actually, men secretly kind of want to look a little bit older.
Okay.
But I looked at my dad, and I looked at him carefully, and I said, no. We are going to sail in a different direction than this.
Asher's father is Indian, his mother is Portuguese, and Asher lived in Trinidad until he was 7 years old. And he said that culture was more open about plastic surgery. His mom and stepdad both have had facelifts, but now Asher has had more plastic surgery than anyone in his family.
I wrote it all down for you, Anna, okay? I made sure to go through all of my receipts. I went through all the documents because I have it stored. And I was like, let me see. And I looked at the total. I was like, God damn. LASIK eye surgery, $4,000. Rhinoplasty, autoplasty, liposuction, all in one, $98.50.
Uh-huh.
Rhinoplasty revision, that was free, medically necessary. Brazilian butt lift, $14,500. Face, chin implant, jaw liposuction, fat grafts into the lips and cheeks, $11,248. Eyebrow transplant, $2,800. So in total, it's about $43,000.
How have you paid for that? On a credit card? Did you finance with the doctor's offices? Cash?
So most of them I saved up and paid cash. All of these I had wanted for 20 years, since I was a teenager. The reason I decided to do it in my 30s was twofold. One, you don't make any good decision in your 20s, ever. Ever. And two, I didn't have the money for it. So even my tattoos, I've got them after I was 30. So do you really want them? If you really want them at 30, you'll be fine. At 20, I don't know. My sister has tattoos on her arms, on her neck. I was like, good luck getting a job, honey. Like...
But if you wait till 30, your life philosophy is you won't have any regrets.
Yeah, 30s. Why not?
Asher got his first major plastic surgery outside of the U.S., in Turkey. Then a few years later, he got the BBL, Brazilian butt lift, at a Park Avenue doctor in Manhattan with good reviews. It's a notoriously dangerous surgery, but Asher deemed it worth the risk.
Yeah, so I had what we don't clinically call this, but in common parlance, we say you have a long back. So...
You mean you had a flat butt?
I'm really tall. So it's very rare you'll see a guy who is 6'5" with a nice butt. Okay, if you look at a guy who's at the gym who's 5'9", it's fucking unfair. Okay, it's just not fair. Like God just preferred them over me. Okay, like I had to work for this.
So when you say a good butt, tell me what it looks like.
So exactly what you would think of. It has a little bit of curvature at the top. There's some volume, and it doesn't look outrageous, right?
Do you care if it's clear to people who see you that you've had cosmetic procedures?
No. This is for me. This is not for anybody else.
But you're not self-conscious that somebody might know. Like,
I tell people all the time. I'm like, I've got. Listen, the amount of money I paid for this, you're gonna find out about it. You're gonna know. I am gonna tell you right away. I'm like, I had it done. I saved up a lot of money for it. Listen, Anna. Nobody buys a Ferrari to keep it parked in a garage. Okay, like.
Some beauty interventions have made you feel good, you told us.
People do say, I can't believe you're the age you are. And I'm very open about it, and they're shocked.
Lately, I've been getting these laser facials, which are not cheap. They are like $250 a pop, and you have to get them like every 10 days. But I'm like, I think the skin's looking better maybe than it ever has.
Sometimes changes to your appearance can make you feel closer to who you feel you really are.
I ended up transitioning and identifying as a non-binary, genderqueer person, started presenting more masculine, more androgynous. So I did make some investments and changes in how I looked and how I presented myself. I got tattoos, which were very expensive and very beautiful and have me like showing off my body in a completely different way than before.
Or these interventions can help you stay close to a part you don't want to change.
One of the things that I do is I take finasteride, which is meant to help you grow and sustain your hair. I noticed that I was losing some of my hair after I had gotten a really bad haircut, and I saw a bald spot on the top of my head. And at the behest of my girlfriend, after many days of anxiety and panic, I finally booked an appointment with a dermatologist and got prescribed medication. Um, I would like to have hair on my head by the time I get married and by the time I have a kid or two, so I'm not really looking to lose it anytime soon. And also, I don't want to lose my hair because I do enjoy going to the barber and getting my hair cut. I constantly joke around with my girlfriend and I always tell her that the relationship between a man and his barber is one of the most intimate relationships that a person can have, and I'm not ready to give that up.
I got lip filler to bring back my old lips. And once I did that, I was like, oh, there I am.
A listener we're calling Caroline first got lip fillers and Botox after her marriage ended. She and her ex-husband had 3 kids together, and she was in her 40s when she asked him for a divorce.
I felt like I was dying in my marriage. Like I just felt like I was dying. I felt like a dead person walking. And finally, I just was like, okay, we got to be done so that I can feel, I mean, I didn't say exactly this, but so I can feel alive again. And part of that was that I wanted to feel sexually attractive. I wanted to feel desired. So it's all really connected for me.
And so when you started doing fillers and Botox, was it something that you would do, you'd wait a few months, you'd go back and do again? Like how many times did you do each of those things?
Botox I was doing every 4 months or so. And filler, I think I did filler 3 times over like a 2.5-year period or something like that. And then I also did this thing called PDO threads. They numb your face and they basically like somehow funnel in these, it looks like fishing line with little barbs on it. So they get it in the right place and then they pull and your cheek literally just goes like it just
it pulls up, it lifts.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that was, the first time I did that, that was amazing. It's been over a year since I've done it. I think the last time I got anything done was in January of 2025. Yeah. So it's all faded away now.
What changed?
Because I filed for bankruptcy like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, uh-huh.
Can't afford it. And it really makes me very sad.
And when you look in the mirror, like what do you look at what's it like to see these procedures that can really change the way you look but are temporary come to an end?
I've been kind of sad about it, honestly. It's pretty... I mean, I knew that eventually I would just sort of have to accept time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that I was ready.
That's so interesting how you put that. For any aging person, we all know that at some point we're going to have to confront age. And you gave yourself kind of a grace period to sort of go back in time with some interventions?
Yeah, I think that I haven't thought about it that way, but I think that really is kind of what I did. I kind of let myself have a few years of... I was a little bit resentful and sad that I wasted those years when I was younger and hotter, married to someone who didn't care about that sort of thing. And I felt really invisible and I wanted that time back. Mm-hmm. So sorry, I'm such
it's okay.
A nose runner. Anyway, I wanted that time back. And so, yes, when I got divorced, I think I definitely splurged and gifted myself some of that time. And I think, and it's, you know, I'm in a very loving relationship now, just over a year, and I do feel desired, and I don't think it's contingent on Botox. So I don't think I'm at any risk of losing this relationship if I stop doing these procedures. I just, yeah, I don't want to give that part of me up.
I kind of liken it to like painting your house. You do one room, and then after you're done with one room, it looks all like shiny and new, and then you go step into the next room and you're like, oh, this is looking a little shabby. Refresh this, and by the time you're done, you're like back to the first room, and it's like, yeah.
Jiang lives in the Bay Area and describes herself as middle-aged. She works in tech, and unlike Caroline, she can afford to do anything she wants to her face. She sometimes gets weekly expensive facials and regular injectables. Other times, she doesn't.
I go in cycles, and here's what I mean by that, and this is part of the struggle. I have used like Creme de la Mer and Augustin Espada, which are two crazy expensive like creams and regimens. And then I will start to think more about kind of like the cosmetic industrial complex and like what it's doing to women. And then I will stop all of that and buy like oil of Olay or something at the drugstore. So it just depends what cycle I'm
where you are in the shame indulgence
That's
graph.
exactly right.
Jiang's parents moved to the United States shortly before Jiang was born from Korea and brought with them clear ideas about how to take care of your skin.
My mom, anytime she would go out, even for a walk, she would be like covered head to toe in like a hat. And it didn't matter, you know, if it was 80 degrees outside, right? A hat, you know, kind of like her sleeves. So when I would go out with my friends, she'd be like, take a hat.
Was it primarily about protecting your skin from sun damage? Was it also about protecting it, keeping it fair?
It was more about keeping it fair, quite honestly, more than like, you know, melanoma concerns or anything.
I see. So not,
yeah. It was just a beauty ideal. Yeah.
When you work in the tech industry now.
I do. Yes.
What's it feel like when you go to work, when you look at your peers, your coworkers? Are you in a sort of tech company where there's a premium on being a young person?
I am at a startup, right? So there's there's many kinds of tech. There's like tech, big tech, and then there's like startup tech. And tech usually tends to have a bigger generation, you know, multi-generations more represented. They're just larger numbers. They're kind of older, established companies, et cetera. Whereas the startup environment is very different, right? I mean, you see all these headlines of 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, you know. So I am in the startup world, and I have been for a while. I just keep getting drawn to this. And, you know, as I continue to go along in my career, for sure, there's an added sense of you look around and, you know, I'm a lot older than a lot of these people. I mean, sometimes this is like their first job. They got recruited right out of college. And so I think overall, the way startup cultures are kind of like bred and what's championed and what's valued, you know, youth is high on that list.
Where are you today as we're talking in the cycle of shame and feeling okay about making appointments to go in and get different services?
Yeah, less and less shame, I will say. And that's just like generally about everything as I get older, right? But I do want to say, you know, when you get compliments for how you look, like it's almost like you get that hit. And that becomes very seductive. So I think what feeds into that is, oh, well, I've got to continue being seen like this, right? And this thing about how women are not seen as they get older, right? Like older women are invisible. Older people are invisible, but particularly older women are invisible. And so I think that if there's any like little hook that kind of still hangs on me, especially being in tech, is that I don't want to be invisible.
The number of people who are doing Botox and other injectables like fillers is growing. It's becoming less common to see wrinkles on TV, not to mention imperfect teeth, ones that aren't totally lined up and bright white. And the narrower and shinier that our dominant aesthetic gets, the more certain perceived imperfections connote otherness, like not having enough money or being left behind.
I feel like a lot of my friends are like getting Botox and stuff, kind of scooting into the anti-aging universe. And for me, I'm still struggling with hormonal acne, something that I feel like none of my friends are really, concerned about.
In the last year, have been told that I need to have severe orthodontics, so braces, when I've previously always been complimented on my teeth. And it can't be Invisalign, and I need elastics in my braces, and around $10,000 Australian for that to happen. I should note that I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a condition that affects all my collagen. You're born with it. I was only recently diagnosed about 2 years ago, but the teeth make sense in regards to that. I've also experienced, in the last year, I changed my birth control and had the most horrendous acne of all time, but also manifested in basically, and I don't know if this was the Ehlers-Danlos, but like my hair growing within itself on my face. And I have gone from a really, oh God, I'm going to cry, a really confident, outgoing person to someone who questions if they look okay to go to the supermarket. But it is honestly insane that I, at 35, am now experiencing this, and I feel like I'm back to below basics of how to accept my body.
Coming up, what happens when you take a stand against beauty interventions and get pushback from your family, and how it feels to be a child who got lots of compliments for how cute and beautiful you are, and then you grow up and they go away.
I started to really have to reconcile with, oh, you've put a lot of emphasis on looks, and I'm not sure how that's going to serve you or how you're going to untangle that. Good luck. And that's sort of when the addiction to alcohol and drugs kind of really, took off.
Shopping and planning for groceries really can be simple and stress-free. Imagine having your weekly cart filled for you with personalized picks and then shipped right to your door. This can be yours with Hungry Root. I was just talking to a mom friend who has a toddler the other day. She works full-time, and she kind of sheepishly said, "This is a dumb question, but how do you handle dinner?" It is not a dumb question, because when you have a 15-minute window between shutting your laptop and a hangry emergency in your household, you need backup. And Hungry Root can be that backup. It's like meal planning and grocery shopping at once. Just figure out how many dinner recipes you could use assistance with in the week, tell Hungry Root your taste and dietary restrictions, and then all the groceries come to your house. Hungry Root fills your cart, and then you can edit it week to week, and the recommendations get smarter as you go. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/DSM and use code DSM. That's hungryroot.com/DSM, code DSM, to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/DSM, code DSM.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what romance you're into, you can't be pinned down. Unless you want to be. You can find a book boyfriend in the city or another on the hockey field, or if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Whether you are new to audiobooks or a longtime listener, the Audible app makes it easy to get lost in a romance. Like for me, I have this track record of forgetting to bring my book with me and then being bummed when I find myself mindlessly scrolling instead of reading. The Audible app saves me from this because it's right there on my phone, so I can dig right back into my book. And here's a recommendation if you need one. It's called The Ministry of Time by Callie Ann Bradley. I'm about halfway through. This is like a science fiction-y romance with characters that are intricately rendered and real feeling, and it's sexy with a will they, won't they plot line that keeps me pulled in. It's about time travel, and the protagonist is a time travel caseworker of sorts who is helping a 19th century explorer get his head around contemporary London. If you're new to romance, this is a good entry point. It was the best book of the year from NPR, Vanity Fair, Vox, and former President Barack Obama. On Audible, you can listen to modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, and Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. Plus, Audible has all the really steamy stuff, too. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/DSM. That's audible.com/DSM. How do you introduce yourself?
Mistress Dana.
Mm-hmm. And what's the term you use for what you practice, what your work is?
Professional dominatrix.
Dana Ferrant got into kink in her 30s. But she always kept it separate from her professional life. It wasn't until she got divorced and turned 50 that she decided to pursue a new career. It's always scary to start a new job, especially when you're a little older. There's that feeling of, can I really do this? Both from yourself and reflected back at you from younger peers. But that is not what Dana found.
I've been more aware of the age piece in stepping into the dungeon because the age is a bonus, not a negative.
What age do you think it is most advantageous that you appear for your clients?
Really somewhere, 45 to 55. People want to know that there's enough experience that I'm not going to injure them, that I know what I'm doing. They want that feeling of I have authority over them. So there's a bit of that power dynamics that comes in automatically just in, if I'm older than them, they feel that immediately. I know professional dominatrix who are still working up into their 80s. It is a profession that you can get into. Well, clearly I'm getting into it at an older age. And it's not a negative to be working in your 60s and 70s.
And will you just describe for me how you sense that? Like, take me into an initial interaction with a client who's trying to figure out who you are, what the dynamic's going to be like between you. How can you tell what they expect from you and how you're going to sort of assert that?
And this is where it's a misnomer for most people in this industry. It's not about me trying to make sure that they, have their wish fulfillment or, that I'm making sure that they're really happy. It's actually the opposite in the power dynamics, which is what they're actually seeking. They're seeking to surrender, to let go of control. And so in order to optimally do that, we need to make sure that it's not about them. The session takes into consideration what they like, what they don't like. But when they come in for a session, I'm deciding what's going to happen.
Charge.
I'm in charge.
Dana didn't always feel in charge of her own life. She grew up in a religious community where most of her life was mapped out, from what she believed to how to spend her free time to how she should look.
I wouldn't allow myself to dye my hair because that would be too much following the world trends and not looking godly enough. I didn't really start dyeing my hair until late 20s.
It's interesting that the way that you describe that at a period of when it sounds like you were dealing with a lot, figuring out who you were, how to heal from some things, that it was out of that time when you started thinking about how you wanted to take care of your appearance and started putting in more effort. Is that right?
Yeah, I think there was a shift of being allowed internally to spend the money, spend the time, do these kinds of things that up until then I had, pushed off as like, oh, that's so frivolous, it's shallow. The person who was helping me in the last 4 or 5 years, she was always encouraging me to wear something sexy, go out, because that's a way to push the thoughts out that it's not okay to dress sexy or that something bad's going to happen if I go like this. So yes, now I have no problem. I can go out in a pair of short shorts and a little tank top, and there's really not much left of the imagination, and I'm out there strutting around.
This topic is very timely for me, as I feel like I'm in the age where people are getting, they have enough money now, my peers, to have plastic surgery or Botox. I don't do any of that, but what I have made the decision, and the reason I'm submitting this voice memo, is that I recently decided to stop coloring my hair. And that has totally changed the way I perceive myself to move through the world. Yeah, I really want to hold strong with this one.
Sue, it looks like your hair is gray. I would say on your driver's license, I would say gray if I were picking your hair color. Is that what you say?
I mean, I think it's probably, if we're going to break it down percentage-wise, I'd say I'm probably 40 to 60. Like, okay. 40, that's probably generous. I'm probably 60% gray, maybe, and 40% brown.
Alexandra is 38 now. She started going gray in her early 20s. She'd always dyed her hair, but stopped during pregnancy a few years ago.
I paused hair color, and then I resumed for a little bit, and then I paused again when I got pregnant again a couple years later, and then I just never took it back up. And I've gotten a lot of feedback on that.
From whom?
I mean, like everybody, like family members, right? And then also just strangers that like meet you, and after, you say an initial, it's never like, oh my gosh, you have gray hair. But after you maybe break the ice with a different conversation, they maybe have a comment on your hair. Always women, never men. And it's usually in the context of like, I wish I could do that.
Oh, so they look at you and they go, I wish I was that brave.
Exactly.
I want to know a little bit more about what you are reacting against. And it might not be the case, but I wonder if you could tell me more about the women in your family who are older than you. Like what was their approach to when their hair and their face and their appearance, they started to look older?
Yeah. To give you an informed answer to that question, let me just back up a titch and say I have two maternal figures in my life, one of which is 13 years older than me. That's my stepmother. And then one of which is my maternal mother. And she is 30 years older than my stepmom.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's quite a big age gap between these two people. I probably am more of the ethos of my maternal mother, of like, she's very Berkeley in the 70s, hippie, English teacher. And then
I see the linen, the flowing fabric.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. You have the picture. And then my stepmom is a Pilates instructor. She routinely gets like these Dracula facial things where I see her face and it's just like puffy. I'm like, what happened? And she's like, I had a facial. I'm like, okay, great. Like subscribes to all the things to stay looking young and attractive. And so I guess I've had competing conversations about this topic my whole life. I guess fundamentally, at the very core of it, is I don't want to have to conform to somebody else's standards. And I think we've been sold a bill of goods in this day and age of female appearance, that it needs to keep up with a certain trend or be a certain way, or youth equals beauty, like that, like youth equals being wanted. And I guess I just don't want to have to keep up with that thought process.
So on the idea of feeling wanted, you're in a relationship, right? You're married to a man.
I am, yeah.
Do you all talk about it?
My hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit.
How does your husband talk with you about how you feel about your hair and the decisions you're making?
He's never been not supportive of my decision. And that double negative is intentional. But it's not something I know that he's totally at peace with, because pictures will come up of me like 10 years earlier and he'll have off-sided comments of, God, look how good you look there.
And when you notice that, does it, like, when it registers, does it make you sort of go, huh? What's my game plan here for the next 30 years, 40 years, 50 years?
Absolutely. Yeah, because it is still so early in the game. And I think it hurts a little bit, I'll be honest. But it also isn't enough to push me the other direction. You know, I'm pretty stubborn. And so it's kind of like, that would suck if that was the deal breaker, but I guess this, isn't right if that's the case. Yeah. So it's constantly a decision I'm making. It's not like, I don't color my hair, period, stop blank. It's constantly something that arises in my decision-making process. And sometimes I'm swayed to do it for whatever reason. And then I always remember kind of and feel at the core that the reasons I don't want to do it. And I'll also add to those reasons that I have 2 daughters and this is genetic and I want them to see this, and to see it be okay. And if they want to make a different choice, that's all right. But at least they have a model,
Did your mother go gray in her 20s and 30s?
Yes. Yes.
It's interesting to me how you described the maternal figures in your life and how core this decision about how you wear your hair, it raises this question of, what sort of woman am I?
Yes.
Like a very core to identity.
Yeah.
Which I get, but it's interesting how it feels like being pushed to color your hair feels like they're not seeing you for how you are, is how it feels.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like, why do I need to do that? I mean, for you? Is it for you? Or because you're embarrassed to have a friend or a spouse with gray hair? I mean, what is the encouragement from?
This is what I think about a lot, too. How I'm being closely watched by 2 little girls as I dabble with beauty interventions and investments. They notice for whom or what I put makeup on for. When I cover grays, they'll alert me when, Mom, you need to shave your legs. I want them to find fun and freedom in how they present to the world. Also, to be real about what it's like to live in a woman's body that also lives in a society. This is a balance. And you know, comments from grown-ups about how you're supposed to look, they can get trapped in memory on a loop.
My mother worked for a plastic surgeon's office, and when I was 16 years old, she said to me, "Jamie, wouldn't it be nice if we could just get you a surgery and take out that little bump in the middle of your nose?"
One of my mom's former friends, I remember her saying, "Oh my gosh, look how big your stomach is. Are you pregnant?" I literally didn't know where babies came from at the time.
I have memories of being told to shave my armpits by my grandmother to help with body odor, and of another patient at a physical therapy clinic talking over my head to my physical therapist about my wolf legs.
But family culture can only influence so much, especially when there are so many other ways we are told or shown how you ought to look to be desired. In this week's Slate Plus episode, I talked to a dermatologist who is also a medical anthropologist, Dr. Molly Hales. She recently co-authored a study where she pretended to be a 13-year-old girl on TikTok to see what the algorithm would serve her. Turns out a lot of young kids are doing skincare routines and doing them badly.
She's kind of doing this instructional format, so it was like a how-to video with her full skincare regimen, and it had just one product after the other that she's holding up and just gushing about how great it is and then putting it on her skin. Her skin is turning dark, pinker and pinker. And by the end, she looks into the camera and she says, like, "Here's how this looks. It's so glowy. I love it. But if anyone can tell me how to get it to stop burning, that would be greatly appreciated because it actually really hurts a lot."
My conversation with Dr. Molly Hales is in the Slate Plus feed this week. If you are not already getting these special episodes, sign up for Slate Plus on the Death, Sex, and Money show page on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, or just go to slate.com/DSM Plus. After the break, more of your stories about beauty interventions. This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Here's what happens when you go to Saks.com and browse around a little bit. You very quickly get a sense of what is happening in fashion. It's basically like walking the streets of the most fashionable block in New York City without leaving my house. For instance, maybe you have been wondering what is happening with jeans right now and what is my jeans personality. Well, you can go to Saks.com, just go to the clothing vertical, scroll down to where it says jeans, click on that, and then there it is, all of these different jean silhouettes. The barrel silhouette, wide leg, high-rise, straight leg jean, something called the half-pipe ankle jean from Mother. There's Rag & Bone, Good American, Cynthia Rowley, Frame, designers and brands I know, and ones that I'm glad I'm discovering. There is so much to explore at Saks.com based on your personal style and what you are looking for. So this fall, whether you're going to try out the latest fashion trends or looking to curate a closet that stands the test of time, Saks has you covered. And listen to this. They have in-store stylists there to guide and inspire you, helping you find pieces that fit every aspect of your lifestyle. Or if you prefer online shopping, Saks.com offers a curated selection tailored to your taste, from new arrivals by your favorite designers to stylish pieces for your everyday needs. If you want shopping to be fun and easy, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to elevate your personal style every day. Can you name all of your financial accounts and what they are currently worth? Most people can't, and this lack of awareness can leave some money on the table. If you want to feel more organized and confident with your finances, check out Monarch Money. Monarch Money is an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface on your laptop or phone. And right now, for Death, Sex, and Money listeners, Monarch is offering 50% off your first year. When I open Monarch Money, I get a quick sense of the big picture and also the daily decisions I have to make. I can see where I am in my monthly spending and budget and what's going on with savings and investments. So then I'm making data-driven decisions about, say, whether we ought to eat something out of the freezer instead of ordering takeout for dinner, or when I'm going to pay my credit card balance for the month, or even when I have enough of a cushion to move some money that's just sitting around into a high-interest savings account or into the stock market. If you have put off organizing your finances, let Monarch do the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in minutes and get clear data visuals, smart categorization of your spending, and real control over your money. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code DSM at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code DSM. Nick Dote lives in Los Angeles, California now, but he grew up in the Bay Area. As a kid, he was told he was beautiful, and he loved it. He set out to be an actor, and at first, he was on a glide path, got all the parts he wanted when he was starting out in shows near his hometown. Then he moved to New York.
I remember it very clearly. It was a callback for Jersey Boys on Broadway, which was a huge deal. But I was so entitled, and my perspective was so off prior, a big fish in a small pond coming from, the San Francisco Bay Area, where I got pretty much all the parts I wanted. And then when I didn't get that, and I thought, the whole plan might not work. Like the whole A plus B equals C is maybe debunked. And that was terrifying to me.
Uh-huh. Do you feel like you won out to somebody who was hotter?
Interesting. No, but I think it's really complicated because I think there's also internalized homophobia with this for men, gay men in theater, especially, that when we're playing lead roles or masculine presenting roles, that, and I'm saying all this because I was a 25-year-old twink, right? Like a pretty boy. So I don't think that he was hotter. However, he might have been more masculine.
Oh, that's interesting. So it was sort of like, I feel you grew up being told you were a handsome boy and then a handsome young man. And then there was a complicating factor of like, but are you a handsome man in the right way to present and be successful in your chosen field?
Right.
And
are
so
you going to take this to the bank? Are you going to be able to cash this in?
As Nick struggled as an actor and with how he presented as a man, he was using drugs and alcohol. It became a problem, and then a full-blown addiction.
I landed in rehab, inpatient rehab when I was 34. So that whole, like the last 6 months, my really rock bottom where, I ended up in a meth cabin in the woods and ended up convincing, my parents weren't speaking to me. I convinced this drug dealer to drive me to LA, probably because he was sick of me. And he's like, okay, sure. And it took a couple more months in this crazy sort of like, using my looks and my body to get, men in the Hollywood Hills to sort of like Uber me from party to party, and I was always in a blackout. And then I ended up in the hospital. And then from there, they put me into this government-run, really like scrappy ragtag rehab, where the woman who owns it, or runs it rather, is just this no-nonsense kind of like, 35 years of sobriety herself, just like can see through it all, right? Kathy is her name, and she's sort of the reason I'm sober. She would not allow us. We couldn't work out. We couldn't talk about it. We couldn't. I was begging for a haircut like 2 months in. Like I still looked the way I did like from the hospital, and I was putting on weight from only eating like donation pastries. Like I was disgusting. And she just knew exactly that was the issue, and she would not budge. Yeah, Kathy said I have to focus on my insides, not my outsides.
Can you just say to me, I want to make sure I'm really getting what Kathy identified and what she helped you identify about the link between your addictions and how you looked.
Yeah.
How do you understand that?
The way I understand it is there's a lot of things that, as you would say in the program, fix feelings. Like, how can I fix how I feel, not be present, you know, whatever it is. And I think when you take out the really strong, life-shattering substances, you are reaching. And so the way I looked was another way I was wearing a mask. It was another way that I was hiding, not being who I was, people pleasing, wanting to be who you needed me to be. All of those things I never would have really dissected had I not torched my life in that way and met Kathy and these other addicts that helped me understand the mirror of how ridiculous it was to be so concerned. Here I am. Kathy would say, look where you are. You're like worried about a haircut, but what about where your life has taken you? You know, like obviously looking good didn't work for you, you know?
Kathy's like, you're worried about a haircut?
Right. So her big thing that her catchphrase would always be like, whatever you were obsessing about, Nick, if haircuts worked for you, you'd have an amazing life.
We love Kathy.
We love Kathy. So sometimes it's very helpful to lose everything because then a comment like that really puts it in perspective.
When Nick got out of rehab, he was sober and rebuilding his life. He got a new job and soon met a man, Walker, at an AA meeting. Walker was 10 years younger, 25 to Nick's 35. And within 3 months of meeting, they moved in together, and 7 years later, they married. Nick wrote about his relationship with Walker in a recent essay in New York Magazine, and also about the tensions that have showed up there because of Nick's relationship to his body. For a while, Nick felt secure in his relationship. Walker never cared what size I was, he wrote. He told me I was handsome when I rolled out of bed, sexy in gym shorts, hot even without a tan. For a while, I believed him, he wrote. And then the pandemic hit.
And I was heading into my 40s, so the weight wasn't coming off the way that it used to. And I had to maybe 6 months in, I had to, instead of all my medium polo shirts that I wore to work, I went online to get some larges, which felt like a dagger to my heart.
When did you have your first conversation with a physician about some kind of surgical intervention?
Pretty much, well, I think, because they're all spaced out about a year. So probably 2021. So I broached the subject with Walker of lipo, and he was like, sure, whatever. And then didn't love those results.
A year into the pandemic, Nick got liposuction. It cost just over $20,000. When Nick told Walker playfully, hey babe, I'm getting my boobs done, Walker's response was cautious. If it's going to make you feel better, I support you, he said. But are you sure this is about your chest? And then the results weren't what Nick wanted. He wrote, the definition I expected never materialized. Just a torso that looked oddly smooth, almost melted. So then Nick went back for a revision procedure that cost another $7,500. When the results still didn't feel perfect, Nick's doctor suggested a tummy tuck. And Nick scheduled it, but waited until 2 weeks before the surgery to tell his husband. Walker was furious about all the money and all the surgeries and asked Nick if he could cancel, but it was too late.
I had already gone back, same surgeon, had already held the date, paid a deposit, because I knew come hell or high water I had to do it, and that I just had to have an honest adult conversation with Walker, and that was not the right way. And that's why it was so bad, just in that he's like, well, you're gonna do it. I mean, you're already doing it.
So you'd paid the deposit. You had said, I am doing this third surgery. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, I have to tell my husband. And then he's
ask.
Hang on. Sort of ask.
Yeah.
Ask/inform.
Yeah. You get it.
Yeah. I also have a husband who I sometimes ask/inform. Yeah.
Right.
But it was the way that you came to what is this for, that conversation between the two of you, and is this worth all this effort, time, money, pain of recovery? It was the money that was the way you had that conversation. We could use this money for something else.
I think it was layered because it was also the first time I had heard, I loved your body before. The first time I had heard, what are you doing? You know, you're botching the things I love. Like these sort of like things that come out in a heated conversation that, yeah, it just was, it's like I overstayed my welcome of just positive cheer from the sidelines and got the tough love of like, do you think this is looking better? Like, do you think this is fixing anything? Kind of a thing. And it was too late. It was, I wanted to, the night before I thought I should cancel. He's going to ask me for a divorce. Like, this is going to be bad. And he said no. You know, he drove me, like we patched it up for as best we could the night before. He drove me to the hospital, you know, the surgery place. And yeah, and then I went to aftercare and ended up in aftercare for like 5 days. And he saw me there once, but I knew that he was over it. I knew that it was, I had done something, I had crossed the line.
And looking back, when you were scheduling that third surgery, you described kind of like, I want the result that I've been after. You described that as your motivation. But do you link it to what we were talking about before, about what you were kind of confronting in recovery, about like your worth is connected to how you look?
For sure, because I thought, you know, it's funny, or ironically, the most stress that's ever been put on our relationship is this. But here I am probably 3 years prior, and when I went to ask for the last surgery, thinking this would be in the category of saving my marriage, when it was doing the opposite, you know, because I did feel like he chose me because of the way I looked at 35. He chose me because of the way others saw me, the way others complimented me. I had that narrative going. So this really shook all of that, because it was the first time I knew that he liked my body, but I didn't realize, I just thought it was all improvement, that there was no risk of, you know, like the scar from the tummy tuck. It's like, neither of us really understood how intense that would look. You know, he described it as a C-section scar, which it's not far off. And I was a little shocked too. Like, I was so tunnel vision that I thought, oh wait, so it never really goes. Wait, it never goes away. You know, like, yeah, dude.
I remember I wished I'd had a warning before my C-section. Just look at your stomach before, because it'll never look like that again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember my surgeon saying something like, well, even if he said something like, because I said, I'm uncomfortable even with my partner with my shirt off, and I definitely don't want to go to the pool and blah, blah. And he said, well, even if you're still uncomfortable, you know, with like the results of a tummy tuck, at least like your silhouette, you know, in clothing. And I'm thinking like, well, yeah, but with my shirt off too. And I now realize that what he meant was, you might not like the scar if your pants go below that. And you also might not like the fact that it's not the belly button you were born with.
You still might not like the way you look when you're naked or with your shirt off.
Yeah.
I want to understand how you think about if you could go back and make different decisions, where you might make different decisions when it comes to the interventions, the surgical interventions. Like, how do you think about that choice?
The truth is that had I known, all of the different things, like not just the physical, medical, but the emotional, the mental, I probably wouldn't have started down the path. And I think even though I'm satisfied and glad in a way, it's almost not worth it. Do you know what I mean?
And in your relationship now with your husband, like if there's a day where you're just like not feeling hot, like is that something you'll say to him, or do you keep that inside?
Yeah, we're gay men in LA, and there isn't a day that goes by where we don't kind of get down on ourselves about it. And it's sad. It is, it is sad. And I think that our job, especially in sobriety, is to take that inventory, and really look at, maybe I have to go do something for somebody else. Maybe I need to volunteer. Like, how do I get out of myself, right?
Mm-hmm. I think I ask you because I think it's so interesting that the moment of real sort of rupture was you thinking, I'm doing this to stay attractive in this marriage, and him saying, you're changing in ways that I feel uncomfortable with, that I don't really like. And so I wonder if if now you can get to that part of the conversation faster.
Yeah, well, I definitely think the positives of those hard conversations is that we can skip to that part. For me, I was so far gone when I was deciding about the surgeries. Nobody could have said to me, this isn't a problem. This isn't the way to fix it. No one, but they could now. I think they could now, and I would listen.
That's Nick Dote. His essay in New York Magazine is called What Plastic Surgery Couldn't Fix. There's a link to it in our show notes. Thank you to everyone whom we talked to for this episode and everyone who sent in voice memos. This episode was produced by Zoe Azulay. The rest of the Death, Sex, and Money show team includes Andrew Dunn and Cameron Drews. Daisy Rosario is our senior supervising producer. Nia Lobel is the head of Slate Podcasts. Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. You can support the production of our show by joining our membership program, Slate Plus. You'll get bonus episodes from us and from other Slate shows like Decoder Ring and How To. And you can listen to all of Slate's podcasts without ads. Subscribe directly from the Death, Sex, and Money show page on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, or visit slate.com/DSM Plus to get access wherever you listen. Our theme music is by the Reverend John DeLure and Steve Lewis. If you are new to our show, welcome. We are glad you're here. Find us and follow us on Instagram @DeathSexMoney. And I write a weekly newsletter. You can sign up to get that at annasale.substack.com. And you can reach us anytime with voice memos, pep talks, questions, or critiques at our email, deathsexmoney@slate.com. We love hearing from you. One more thing Asher told me. He says when he got that Brazilian butt lift, he noticed increased attention on hookup apps, but he also got attention from unexpected sources.
I live on a street where it's kind of common to see the same people. I've lived here 14 years. And this lady that lives 2 floors above me, she saw me. I usually open the door for her because she's older and she walks with a grandma cart. And she told me that during her recent dominoes game, because Dominicans love to play dominoes on the street. She was like, everybody was talking about your butt looks so good. I could not believe it.
I'm Anna Sale, and this is Death, Sex, and Money from Slate. This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Here's what happens when you go to Saks.com and browse around a little bit. You very quickly get a sense of what is happening in fashion. It's basically like walking the streets of the most fashionable block in New York City without leaving my house. For instance, maybe you have been wondering what is happening with jeans right now and what is my jeans personality. Well, you can go to Saks.com, just go to the clothing vertical, scroll down to where it says jeans, click on that. And then there it is, all of these different jean silhouettes. The barrel silhouette, wide leg, high rise, straight leg jean, something called the half pipe ankle jean from Mother. There's Rag & Bone, Good American, Cynthia Rowley, Frame, designers and brands I know and ones that I'm glad I'm discovering. There is so much to explore at Saks.com based on your personal style and what you are looking for. So this fall, whether you're going to try out the latest fashion trends or looking to curate a closet that stands the test of time, Saks has you covered. And listen to this. They have in-store stylists there to guide and inspire you, helping you find pieces that fit every aspect of your lifestyle. Or if you prefer online shopping, Saks.com offers a curated selection tailored to your taste, from new arrivals by your favorite designers to stylish pieces for your everyday needs. If you want shopping to be fun and easy, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to elevate your personal style every day.